Good morning, and I would like to thank you for serving and running, because this is not an easy time to be in public office. Number two, I also would like to support your Resolution 101 that you brought forward with term limits. Okay, with that being said, I'm a teacher of 35 years, and I dedicated...
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, and I live to tell about it. I taught elementary children.
Oh, awesome.
But when I would bring the elementary children into my office, I might say to them something like I'm about to say to you. I really like you, but I didn't like what you did.
Okay.
I didn't like the fact that you supported Paul Ryan's budget. And I want you to know what my feelings are.
Sure.
My feelings are like I'm in the North Woods, and I live in the state of Wisconsin. I feel like there's cannonball fodder coming at me from the back. And that is what's happening politically in Wisconsin. Collective bargaining has been eroded. For 50 years, our collective bargaining has been eroded, and we don't have a say at the table on how to affect the children in Wisconsin. It's what I'm passionate about, the children. I also feel that there's been less coverage for health care in the state, etc. And I don't need to spend a lot of time with the state, but my final question will get to that. All right, what I'm also feeling when I'm standing in the woods is high-powered rifles coming at me, rifle bullets, such as the budget that you supported, which I'm hearing you give me some reasons, but I'm still not convinced that it's the right way. So I'm feeling those bullets. I'm feeling the Supreme Court taking a solution that was offered by the Democrats to the court, and that I feel the rifle being pointed at me, waiting for that high-powered bullet to come, whichever way they rule. So here's my bottom line question to you, okay? I do have a question. How do you, at the federal level, which I know we separate federal and state, how do you balance your decisions for the citizens of Wisconsin when we have all of this cannonball fodder coming at us from the state level? So from the federal level, and we're getting it from the state level, how do you balance, and how do you balance what's happening to us, and I'm saying me, the middle class in Wisconsin?
Yeah, and by the way, I like you too.
Get to know me, and
and I'm sure I'd like you more if I got to know you better. Let me bring up the debt clock back up. Here's the problem. I actually supported more than one budget, but we have to at some point find a way to get to structural balance. The bill, the $15 trillion number that you saw earlier, at some point is going to be paid. And I've said all along that the way you get out of debt, you do it the same way you got into debt, systematically and over time. But getting out of debt requires a great deal of discipline. And it's the way I balance it, to the degree that I can answer this question, because every piece of legislation is a little bit different. But the way I try to balance it is we look at what calls and letters and stuff come in from constituents. I look at the things that I told people I would do when I ran for office so that I could be consistent there. And then I try to weigh what's the best I can possibly come up with imperfect solutions. As I said earlier, every single piece of legislation that I vote on, whether it's the Ryan budget, whether it's the president's budget, is not perfect. It's not how you or I or any one of us might do it if we were king for a day. Because they all come as a result of committee work, and they come as a result of input from the groups that are responsible to kind of shepherd these things through Congress. The president did offer the budget in accordance with the law. The 1974 Budget Act required that the president submit a budget to Congress by a specific date in February, that the U.S. Senate and U.S. House of Representatives by April 15th pass a budget. Your government's not been doing that. And the president's budget was voted on in the House of Representatives and received 0 votes from, not a single member voted for it, 414 to 0. A year ago, the president's budget was voted on in the U.S. Senate and received 0 votes, 97 to 0. And so I know that the members didn't like that plan. The Ryan plan at least puts us on a trajectory by 2050 to have actually paid down our national debt. And 2050 is a long time, and it's with a specific restructuring and discipline that goes in place. And I realize that the Ryan plan on Medicare is controversial. I get that, but it's a plan. And I will look at almost any plan that I think will solve the problem so that at some point we don't have an economic collapse similar to what's going on in Greece. Now, Greece fell apart when their national debt reached 158% of GDP. As you can see earlier, we're over 100% of GDP right now. And so at some point, if we can't slow the tide down, and we can, and even President Obama, there's a question over here about revenue, even President Obama at the end of 2010, when Democrats had full control of the House and the Senate and the White House, said you shouldn't raise taxes in a recession because you'll stop the growth. And growth has been very, very slow. And we've all seen, it's probably been the slowest recovery, certainly the slowest recovery in my lifetime. I was born in 1956, so I'm 56 years old. And at some point, we have to get that clock to start slowing down, and then eventually stop, and then eventually work in reverse at some point. Now, if it's not you and I, as the grown-ups in the room, those very children that you teach will pay the bill. But we made the bill. And so we have to begin to wrestle and grip with these big societal issues. How do we meet the required social safety net that's needed while still having a free and robust economy that helps elevate people so that we have more taxpayers in the system, rather than people receiving an unemployment check or some type of government subsidy check, they receive a payroll check. We have to find those types of big solutions. And it's not as simple. And I can tell you that as I sat 2 years ago, I would have been in a meeting very similar to this one, and I had all kinds of ideas, and I had thoughts on how we could do it. And what I discovered, it's a bit more complicated than I thought going in. It certainly is more difficult to find consensus. Talked a little bit about redistricting, why it's harder and harder to find consensus. And but I'll continue to work at it. And I want to thank everybody here this morning for having me. I realize that talking about politics can be a really boring topic, and I appreciate how polite you all were, how thoughtful your questions were, how the real concern that you had. I appreciate all this very much. And I have one last comment, and then we'll go. Yeah, he asked the question. I wish I had more time to delve into that, because just yesterday I was at the Arizona border, and I've certainly got some opinions. He asked, the question was, it's never been addressed or talked about the extreme cost of illegal immigration.
Oh dear.
And there certainly is a cost. There certainly is a cost to it. And so, but we're rapidly running out of time, and I've got to be next door here shortly. Lisa, thank you so much for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.